Welcome to Everything Enfield. I'm Mike Tippo. Well, it's the 23rd of August, and if you're an Enfield resident, have been for a while, you know that now's the time we start heating up the electoral interest in town. We've got something unique this election, and that's we're going to have a primary, which happens occasionally, but this one looks like it's going to be a barn burner. With me today is Carol Sinsky, who's the Democratic Registrar of Voters, and Dave Wawa, who is the Republican Registrar of Voters. Good morning, folks.
Morning, Mike.
How are you?
Doing great.
Good, very good. Carol, you looking well?
Thank you.
Every time it's served you well.
It does.
Yep. Very good. Okay, as I mentioned, it's the 23rd of August when we're taping this. We do have a Republican primary coming up, and when is that going to be, Dave?
The primary is going to be Tuesday, September 10th, 2013.
Okay. Now, most people, when they think about primaries, they think, oh, you go and you pick the people you want to vote for in the general election. But it's only the Republicans that are primarying this year. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is true. In order to vote on September 10th, you have to be a registered Republican. And you have until Monday, September 9th at 12 noon, which is the day before the election, to register for the first time and register as a Republican and vote on that Tuesday primary.
How about if you're a Democrat and you're kind of interested in this race and maybe want to vote in the primary? Can you do that?
Not this. No, Democrats do not vote in Republican primaries. Republicans cannot vote in Democrat primaries.
Could they change their party affiliation?
Yes, they can. But it's we've passed the deadline date.
Okay.
The state of Connecticut has a 90-day, Carol, 90-day rule for any primary election.
How about someone who's unaffiliated? Could they change
Yes.
the Republican?
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
What's their deadline?
Monday, September 9th
Same.
at 12 noon.
Okay. All right, very good. If somebody who's never registered to vote would like to vote this term and would like to vote in the primary, what do they have to do in order to register?
There are a couple things. You can go online to the town website and look under the registrar's page, and there's an application to register to vote. Fill it out, and you can either mail it to the town hall, or you can physically bring it to our office or the town clerk's office. And at the same time, you can come into town hall Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the town clerk's office, and fill out a registration form. Our office is is open 9 a.m. to 1 or 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. You can come in as well and fill out a form and register.
Right there.
Oh, and one other thing, Carol, you're going to be working a special night to register people to vote?
Really?
That's the 27th, next Tuesday.
Oh, good.
I'll be working until 9 o'clock for anybody that can't get in during regular hours. So anybody wants to come register, come on down and see me.
So that's anybody.
Anybody can register, but you may not be able to vote in the primary
Right,
unless you.
right. Well, we want to get people
Right.
registered. What triggered this primary, Dave?
Well, that's a good question, Mike. The process to nominate candidates for either party is through a caucus, and the Republican caucus back in late July. There are nominees for various positions. A good number of people showed up to vote because that is how a caucus works. It was open to all. The caucus was open to all 4,500 Republicans, registered Republicans in the town of Enfield. There were nominations from the floor, as you can do in any caucus or convention, and a number of people were voted in. So some of those came out of the nominating committee process, were not voted in, and some who were nominated chose not to accept nominations. So that's kind of how we got to this primary.
Okay. And those people got together
Yes.
and said, okay, we're going to be, what's the term for that? Not the opposition.
No, it's called petitioning.
Petitioning.
Primary petitioning candidates.
Okay.
And Carol's familiar with primary petitions from a year ago
Right, we've had that
with David Alexander and
Kathleen Kelly.
Rita. we're again, if you're not nominated,
Mhm.
again, it's true for either party. You can just get petition papers, go
That's
out and
it.
get signatures.
I want to ask you about that. They have to get a certain amount of signatures, and how do you decide how many signatures they need?
The state law is very specific. 5% in a municipal election, municipal primary, it's 5% of the registered Republicans.
Okay. Now you had to certify those. They brought you the papers with all these signatures on it.
Yes, anyone who was circulating petitions
Yeah.
brought the paperwork back to town hall, and we and our staff worked over the course of a day and a half to verify that signatures were registered Republicans.
How do you verify that?
The state voter registration system called Converse.
How about somebody that moved 3 weeks ago and then signed the paper?
We did look. We do look statewide in the Converse system, but unless the person was registered in the town of Enfield, that signature would not be valid.
Very good. And how many signatures do they need?
That the petitioners, because of the way they did it, needed collectively 215 signatures.
How many did they bring to you?
Over 300, and after the staff checked them, we believe we certified 297 signatures.
That's very good. That's a very high number, isn't it?
Well, there were a number of people, 6 or 7 or 8 different people that brought in petitions, so signatures. So I would say that, yeah, that's a good number.
What the ones that you said, okay, we're not going to accept the signature. What was the reason for that?
Some were Democrats.
Really? No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some were unregistered voters.
Yeah.
And some were unaffiliated voters.
Okay, so you had to be registered.
At the time you signed the petition paper, you had to be registered.
Could those unaffiliated people change at the same time to change to Republican?
They can, absolutely.
Yeah.
Come
Did
in.
that happen at all?
Actually, we've had a lot of activity with registrations going from unaffiliated to Republican
Yes.
over the last few weeks since
Yeah.
Since they brought in the petition
Yeah.
papers, and Carol's seen it, yeah,
Yeah.
it's you might have had 10 or 20 people switch from unaffiliated to Republican.
All right, just so people understand, so Democrats will not be voting at all in this primary. There's no reason for them to go to the voting polls.
That's correct.
And where are the voting stations?
Same voting stations: Enfield High School,
Yeah.
John F. Kennedy Middle School,
Yeah.
Henry Barnard Grammar School, and Fermi High School.
All right, very good.
But we should maybe we want to talk about where they're going to vote.
Is that going to be
this-
different?
Slightly different. Again, the facilities stay the same. All the other things stay the same, but we've had to make some modifications because Tuesday, September 10th is a public school day.
Sure.
And so Carol and I met with town manager and the police chief and head of public works and the school superintendent a couple of weeks ago to work on logistics for an election when you have school open.
Mm-hmm.
So we can. There are a couple of, for example, in the Fermi gym, which is where we do voting, the public, because of the Board of Ed security procedures they instituted last spring, the public, which cannot be impeded in voting, will enter through the main doors, but turn immediately right into I call it the south half of the gym.
Okay.
Instead of proceeding all the way through the atrium
Yeah.
to enter on the north door of the gym. So we've just slightly shifted that.
Right.
And they'll exit through the same way.
Okay.
But again, we want to make sure that there's it's handicap accessible. It's still
Right.
ground floor, but and we couldn't do it any other way.
Will there be people or signage to assist?
We will have signs
in.
saying "Vote here today."
Yeah,
And
and there'll
when
be
they
a
come in the
sign telling
building-
them where to go, right?
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
And we also received a call from the chief of police who asked if we had any legalities about having a police officer on duty, because they don't want to have to stop every voter and check their ID,
Right.
which is part of their new procedure.
Yes.
So they're going to stand there and make sure that they go into the right door,
Good.
and they won't have access to any other part of the school. They'll just come right
Good.
back out.
Okay. Good.
So that's going to alleviate any backup
Right.
with a double check of identification.
Okay, because they're going to have to get a check when they're going to vote.
Now, and the JFK site will still be the gym,
Okay.
and you enter through the rear door. Should be no issue there. The 8 or 10 handicap parking spaces are right next to that door, so it will be business as usual at JFK.
Wait a second, Dave. Let's make sure people know which door. Are they going to go in the door where the handicap parking is available?
Correct.
Okay,
It's
not
in the
in-
rear
not in the
side of the
entrance.
door. We always have people enter for the past 4 or 5 elections
All right, good.
through. I call it the rear part of the building. Do
Yeah.
not go through school
Right.
corridors.
But
At one time you did.
We did.
Yeah.
We changed it around a few
Right.
years ago.
That makes sense.
And then we have Enfield High, which we want to make people aware of. We are going to be voting in a room right off of the parking lot. People will not be entering the main building. They will not be entering the auditorium building. There'll be a door, which we used last April for the presidential primaries. It'll be clearly marked with a big sandwich board sign saying
Good.
"Vote here today."
Good.
It's fairly close to where the handicap parking spaces are, and spaces will be reserved near there. But it is not the auditorium door.
Yeah.
However, it is in the general vicinity, so you would still go in the same area to park,
Yes.
but it's just to the left of the
Left.
auditorium.
But you enter directly into the voting room from the outside. There's no corridor to
Yeah.
go through.
Yeah, good.
We want to make people where it's going to be easy in and easy out.
Right.
And then Henry Barnard, after a lengthy discussion about the school's security procedures, we for I don't know 30 years voted in the all-purpose room
All-purpose
or cafeteria.
Yeah.
But that is also the door where they have security procedures in place now. So we are going to be permanently moving voting to the gym, which is in the far right side of the building. It would be, and anyone who's been in Park and Rec basketball with their kids knows where the gym is. But it'd be to the right of the entrance where the Board of Ed staff are. And we've made provisions for the park.
Very good. And the hours for voting?
6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Even for your primary?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you have already got staff together and train your people for this voting?
We're working on it.
We have sent out letters to Republican
That's right.
staffers to ask them to come back.
Yeah.
We've also asked the candidates if they had people that they wanted to be working at the polls that are already experienced.
Okay.
And should we not be able to have enough people, we will go into our reserve of
Other candidates, Democrats,
or
unaffiliated.
unaffiliated
Yeah, but you try to keep
staffers.
members of the party.
Well, the state law is very specific
Is it?
on a primary, and because we've typically had both a Democrat and a Republican primary in the same building on the same day,
Mhm.
we're able
Yeah.
to do our normal staffing.
Yeah.
This is kind of a unique situation where there's only one party,
Right.
but we're still going to. We have experienced people. If from our Republican pool, enough people are not available. Again, this is a unique
Right.
day, and we found some are not. We'll go into our experienced registered Democratic pool as we're allowed to do.
Okay, you are elected.
Oh, absolutely.
Just so everybody's clear on this, what political offices are people voting for on this primary?
The 4 at-large positions with the Republican candidates.
Okay.
There are, and when you ask about November, this is just a small subset of the types of positions that will be on the November ballot.
And the thing that's kind of nice for you folks too is it's almost like a dress rehearsal. You can see what problems with parking or doors or, that kind of thing that you might have in November. the hordes come to vote, you'll be able to then.
The nice thing in November is we will not have the security issue because there'll be no school that
Right,
day.
right,
But yes, we
right.
do get
That's
to,
very true.
Right.
and quite frankly, almost every single election we find out something that we need to make a correction on or work on to get it into a better situation.
That's true. I hate to ask this, but people want to know, what is this going to cost us to run this primary for at-large positions?
Well, a typical election between election workers and the prep work, $20,000 to $25,000. I mean, when you look at all the pieces of the puzzle, we have to pay for programming of memory cards.
Yeah.
We have to pay for what we call the handicap voting phone line. That's about $300 per school.
Wow.
Times
What does
4.
that mean? Who
Okay.
uses that?
Anyone who's blind or
It's for disabled people,
disabled
blind or other,
other,
you
you
know,
could be
but
physically.
they can vote themselves by listening to somebody read.
Yeah.
So quite frankly, this is a program that is for the handicap, but in this town, we very rarely use it. Only a couple of the schools use it, and it's only, I mean, we have it in every one because by law we have to, but we have very few people that actually take advantage of it.
This is people that have to come to the voting.
Well, they don't have to. They could absentee.
do absentee. So
But we
this is an option.
also have our poll workers will, if somebody couldn't get in physically and they were at the curb, our poll workers would go out and take the ballot from them.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So so people have tried to use it when it first came out. It's not an easy program to use.
Yeah.
It's something that a previous Secretary of the State purchased and implemented in 169 cities and towns. It was required by a congressional law in 2003 or 4. It was called the Help America Voting Act. There are a number of changes that took place nationally for all 50 states, and every state had to implement, I call it a handicap voter system.
Yeah.
We have it. Now, the other thing about someone who is physically infirmed or hard of hearing or whatever, blind, they can have a relative walk with them. We have a table where they can sit, or a place where they can sit, and the relative can help them fill out a ballot. So that's always been available. This is just another option.
The only helping somebody else vote, the only two people that can't help you vote is your employer and a union representative.
Oh, and a candidate.
Oh, and a candidate.
And a candidate can't help you.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know why that was there.
But again, Mike, the other cost, and the other cost, we will hire 6 or 7 election workers per site. Again, it's the minimum staffing that's required. We'll have staff here in the Enfield room counting absentee ballots. We have other support staff, like, for example, the deputy registrars will be doing what we call, both of them will be doing troubleshooting or visiting the sites to provide maybe additional materials, supplies throughout the day. We have 2 of those people, as they normally do. So we have to treat it like a November election. You can't take away. So that's why the cost is going to be there.
But it won't be $25,000. This time it'll probably be contained around $15,000.
Perhaps 15. Again, we'll know. I mean, we still buy election workers.
Yeah, you mentioned some. You have to keep these people awake. And it's a long day. They work the whole day.
Right.
Right? And they come in the night before and help set up?
That's correct. They'll be in Monday night, sometime after 5 o'clock to set up the voting room.
That's a very long day for those folks, and it's generally people that are retired.
Usually, although we have been getting more people that are just interested in helping out, that take the day off from their regular job to do it.
Yes, we do.
Good.
The unique thing, though, about November is people know the date, and
Yeah.
and people who work a full-time job somewhere else and want to do this
Sure.
kind of more as a hobby, a
Yeah.
public service,
Yeah.
they'll take the day off.
Yeah.
Here, it's not easy to plan for.
No.
So we've actually had a few of our normal November people call and say, I'm not available.
Can't be,
We're on
yeah.
vacation or
Yeah.
we're visiting family that
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
It's second week of September.
Right.
So
Right.
still a lot of
A lot of
holiday traffic.
retarees like to go on vacation after school
After
starts.
school starts.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. We did it this year in May.
Oh,
The end of May to the beginning of June. Went to Ireland and
Oh,
we had a
nice.
good time. There wasn't a lot of crowds of any kind, so it was very nice for me to see.
Did you kiss the Blarney Stone? Mike?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna. I went up there with my wife and she said, "Come on, you got to do it. You're this close." And I said, "Oh, this is kind of silly, but okay." Yeah, so we both
I did it with my son Sean when we went,
Did
and
you? It's not easy.
I was terrified.
Yeah, yeah.
They
I-
hold you over backwards. And
Yeah.
oh
Tip you
wow.
down.
And you've got to kiss the wall that's back there.
Oh,
So I don't know about you, Cal, but when I get up, it was kind of like,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
your equilibrium is really thrown off.
right.
And you get a little certificate in the picture, and
very nice.
yeah, it was fun. Okay, now the general election is going to be November 5th.
Yes.
What offices are going to be voted on in that election, Carol?
All of the district council members,
Okay,
the at-large council members,
right.
the Board of Education members, the
Constable.
constables.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Please don't ask us what a constable does, because
I'm not really sure.
we're.
He's kind of like a cop, but he's really not.
They actually serve
They can serve papers,
papers,
right?
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
They serve papers for attorneys and for police, I believe.
Are they used at all in public events or security or any of that kind of stuff?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Probably from the days going by before the town had full-time
Yeah.
police department.
It
It's
might have been,
it's
yeah.
stayed in place.
Yeah, it's kind
Kind
of
of like the sheriff of the old Wild
Yeah.
West, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. Kind of like justice of the peace. Like I said, one time that was a very important position. Now you do weddings. That's
Well, there are other things they can do. It's just that that's
Yeah.
pretty much what
Yeah.
they use it for.
really hard today. Yeah. All right. The hours for voting during the general election, Carol.
6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Same place, same station.
Same place, same station.
Okay, very good.
Except that we may be changing the Enfield High School
Well,
back
we'll go
into
back
the
to the cafeteria. We'll
Yeah.
go back to cafeteria
Just-
because there's no school.
No
Right.
school security isn't a problem.
Right.
And who's eligible to vote in the general election?
Anybody who's registered.
Right. And what's the last day they can register?
Well, there are two
Uh,
dates.
Well, 90 days before the election to change their party, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And the Monday at noon prior to the election for,
Well, we also have a new thing coming up, it's like election day registration.
oh, right.
Yeah, but typically we have to kind of get our minds out of primary mode
Yeah,
and
right,
into
right.
general.
Right.
The state law allows you to mail in a registration up to 2 weeks before the election.
All right.
Okay, and 2 weeks before the election, Carol or I will be in town hall that night
Right.
registering people to
Yeah,
vote.
yeah.
As usual, it's always 2 weeks before or a week before. 1 week before is the last day you can come in person. The Tuesday before the election Tuesday.
1 week before.
I'm sorry, is the last day you can
Mail
come
it
in
in.
person. No, mail-in is 2 weeks.
right, 2 weeks.
Okay.
1 week before is in
In person.
person.
Okay.
And then there are exceptions to the rule. New U.S. citizen, newly moved to town
Right.
within those 6 days.
Okay.
And there's a third, but there's a couple of categories that are exceptions.
Just turned
to come-
18.
Just turned 18.
You can't register to vote before you're actually
Well,
18?
Yes, you can, but you
Okay.
can come in that 6-day
Period.
frame.
But I mean, if you're going to be 18 on November 4th, can you come in on October 30th and register to
Yes.
vote?
Yeah, you can come in
So
October.
why
3rd.
are we making an exception for that?
That's
Well,
the state
because
rule.
they
don't know?
not everybody knows that.
Okay, because I got to wait till I'm actually 18.
Yeah.
Correct. And then a new feature, a new service, or a new requirement of state law will be for November 5th only. Registering to vote on election day, and we should talk about that in another program.
Yeah, because it'll be
it's
different.
very complex.
Let's talk about that November 5th, because
Yeah.
just on first blush, I think that's a bad idea. But we'll talk about that more, and maybe you can convince me that it's a great idea. I doubt it.
I will
Okay.
try, but David won't.
Yes,
Yeah.
right, okay, you will try, okay, all right. Is there anything that we've missed?
I don't think so. I
No.
think we've covered pretty much everything.
If I guess if people have questions about voting in a primary, we have email addresses.
They are.
Csenski,
At Enfield.org.
dwauer@enfield.org, or our administrative assistant Debbie Camp, which is dcamp@enfield.org. Debbie is here 30 hours a week, so you can call the office and call her number, 860-253-6322.
Okay, very good. Does she have an answering machine?
Yes, she has a voice message.
So if she's not there, you can just leave a message. She'll
Pretty
get back to you.
much, yeah.
Very good.
Oh, and absentee balloting.
We
We should
get into
cover that
but yeah,
before we
really didn't.
leave to,
Yeah, good point.
because Carol is doing the supervised absentees.
Okay, we will be doing supervised absentees at the nursing homes,
Wonderful.
and the absentee ballots are available now. You can apply for them with the town hall. I believe you can call in and get one mailed to you, right?
Correct. It's an application. You must fill out the application first.
And then they
Who
will,
should you call? I'm sorry, who should you call?
the town manager's office,
Town clerk.
town clerk's
Town
office.
clerk,
I'm sorry,
yes.
Okay.
Matt will kill me.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Don't call the town manager. Yeah, he's
And they will send you an application, which when you return, they will then send you the ballot. You send it back, and we will count the ballots that came in ahead of time, the day before the election.
Yeah.
Just not count them. We will get them prepared.
Yeah.
And then on election day,
Yeah.
primary day, we will have a staff here that will sit down and count them, just like the ones that go through the machine.
Yeah.
They'll go through the machine here probably in this room, and they'll be part of the grand tally.
At 8:01, they'll be part of the grand tally?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. There's always a question about that. It
We-
seems like a
It
national
may not be
election, but all those
8:01.
are-
It may be 8:15.
Yeah,
but
yeah, but I mean, they'll be part of the
Yes.
general election.
yes, we actually have a great system
good.
now that the IT for the town of Enfield has worked out with us, and we have all of our figures, by 10 o'clock at night, as opposed to the days when we would sit in
Yeah,
the vault up there at
Right.
3 a.m. in the morning,
yeah,
recounting for like the 50th time,
Yeah.
trying to get a
Yeah.
figure.
yeah. How many times do you run these through the counting machine now?
once.
And that's it?
That's it. It stays in the ballot box until the tape is run.
There are random double checks that get picked by the Secretary of the State's
Oh.
office, and different places around
Yeah.
the state have to redo theirs to see if they match.
Right.
And we have done that, and they always have come out perfectly.
In a primary, is there a possibility of a recount?
Well, that's a good question. I would believe it's a number. Any election, it's within a certain number of votes, and within, I believe it's a 1% of the
1%.
total vote cast. It's a formula established by state law. So yeah, anything's possible. If we're within so many votes, of one another, we could have a recount. We could maybe not have a recount. We just don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll in a recount, I believe we have 6 or 7 days, total days to do a recount. It's not working days. You just plan for it. But that's a good question. We're hoping for a clean election where we have
always
defined
They
outcomes,
always
so
are,
we can.
sure.
Yeah.
Now, will they just run through the machine again, or are they hand counted?
In a recount, the new way of doing it, changed from 2007, is you run them through the scanner again. But in a recanvass, which is totally different, that's just a system of checks and balances against the memory cards. You hand count in circles. We've done that
let's hope we don't get to that.
I do not believe Secretary of State, well, I could be wrong, but Secretary of State's office does have a minimum number of audits, they call them,
Mm-hmm.
from the 1,700 voting sites across the state. They
Mhm.
pick
Yeah.
a number
Yeah.
in a lottery, and they'll do that in November. But I do not know if they'll do that for primaries.
Is it more or less to keep track to make sure that all these machines are working pretty well throughout the state?
Yeah,
More than
you
anything
know,
else.
It's a system of checks and balances.
Right.
It's written into the regulation. I don't know if it's a law, but other states that have the exact same equipment as we
Yeah.
do not do audits.
You know, I think it's good that they do it randomly like that, because I think the most important thing for a voter is to know have credibility in the system, that my vote is actually going to count. And my vote is going to be counted. I think that's really important.
Absolutely.
can I just say one more thing about absentee
Absolutely.
ballots? Absentee ballots come with 2 envelopes. Please be sure to read the directions and place your ballot in the first envelope and then in the second envelope, because what happens is people put the envelope in sometimes and they just put the ballot in with it,
Yeah,
but not in it,
yeah.
and we cannot
It's
count that
invalid.
ballot.
Yeah, that's all. Without having a ballot in the inner envelope, it's called, and it's labeled, and not having the inner envelope signed, those are two disqualifications. Have been for 50 years, and,
Yeah.
and it's
Still happening.
it still happens to this day. And town clerk's office is very specific with people about the requirements and the procedure.
Sure.
But it never amazes us
Yeah.
that we get automatic disquals, because people don't use the inner envelope.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. How many ballots from the polling places are disqualified? What percent? No. People are marking the right spot. And that's not marking to positions.
What happens with those is they go into a side chute, okay? And we look at them, and if the intent is there, if we can see what the voter intent is, they get
you can override and push the vote through.
If they just put an X instead of filling in the oval.
Correct.
that kind of
Correct.
thing.
If it didn't register, if it didn't get accepted by the scanner, but there's something else in the system called spoiled ballots. I think Carol, we have spoiled ballots where someone makes a mistake and say, I don't want, I marked the wrong person. So
Yeah.
you can go back, hand in your spoil, get a brand new ballot, and do it
Okay.
again. Oh yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. People do it all the time.
It does. They do.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think that does it, huh? We pretty much covered everything?
Thank you, Mike.
Oh, always a pleasure to have you folks
It's
here.
always a pleasure to be here.
And we'll hope to see you again in a month or so.
You will.
Yeah, very good. If you're a registered Republican, you say, well, I'm kind of busy and this really doesn't matter. It matters. Every time we have election, especially a town election, it always amazes me that for presidential election, everybody comes out of the woodwork and everybody votes. And that's good, and I want you to do that, and I think that's the right thing to do. But it's the right thing to vote in this primary, too. These are the folks that actually are deciding what you're paying in taxes, what services you're receiving. It's very, very important that we have a good town council, and you can be part of making sure that that happens. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Kevin, thank you very much. Kevin Sullivan, our manager, our station manager, who's also our director and producer and all-around guy. Once again, thank you for a wonderful job. David, thank you very much for coming and being with us.
pleasure,
Carol,
Mike.
always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
And until next time, this is Mike Tippo wishing you a great day. So long now.
Bye.